Hi, my name is Charles Brown. I'm with Comprehensive Finance. Over the last few years and in today's economy, more and more patients are being turned down or only partially approved for care they really want and need. As a result, it's putting you as doctors in a bad position with your patients because when it comes to that, you're really only left with two options. One, let your patients walk out the door, but when patients leave without care, that's a huge potential loss of income, not to mention the fact that patient satisfaction significantly decreases. But your only other option in the past has been to set up some sort of payment plan between you and your patients in-house. But when patients know they're paying back the doctor in the practice, they know if they pay you on time and pay you off, that it's not going to increase their credit score. So you're the last person they're going to think about paying every month. And as a result of that, patients are very likely to be slow to pay or just completely stop paying altogether. And when that happens, who's having to perform the follow-up? Someone on your team? You know, it takes away from their main responsibilities that they need to be focusing in on a daily basis, and they're probably really not that great at it. You didn't hire them to be part of a collection agency, and so they tend to lose focus. Patient satisfaction is decreasing because now someone from your team is following up with the patient to try to collect a debt that, candidly, they don't want to pay. In this presentation, we're going to show you how you can help more patients than ever before by making your treatments and procedures more affordable to the average budget without discounting your fees while simultaneously increasing your profitability. At Comprehensive Finance, we provide you with what we call a low-risk, self-directed financing plan that's administered on your behalf as Compassionate Healthcare Services. You are simply establishing a payment plan between us and your patients. Therefore, it appears as an outside lender to the patient, even though you are receiving payments directly from us as we collect from the patient each month. We also provide you with a simple-to-use web system for extending that credit, billing, collecting, and all reporting. You control the approvals. You can approve everyone if you'd like, payment terms, any amount up to 60 months, and even set the interest rates that you would like to earn in addition to your fee that we will be charging your patients. In most states, that can be anything from 0 to 18%. We will make a recommendation to you with regards to what interest rates we would advise you charge based on our experiences and expertise. We also provide all loan management. All the day-to-day payment processing is performed by us through an automatic debit of the patient's checking account. If a patient is ever slow to pay, we have our company structured so that we don't get paid unless you get paid. So the soft collections process is handled by us. It will never cost you anything. We also provide team training and coaching along with ongoing 24/7 support. And now I'm going to elaborate more on each one of these bullet points throughout the presentation. So why are we experiencing some of the things we are with traditional third-party finance? Since 2008, lending has tightened. Traditional third-party finance is only approving approximately 50% of patients who try to get approved, and we're not even taking into account for the large percentage of patients who decline all financing or make up an excuse and leave the office and never show up again. We all know this is because of money. Many patients approved still do not receive full funding. So if we have a patient who needs 6 crowns, for example, and only gets approved by third-party finance for $2,000, how many crowns are we going to do? We are probably going to do 2 crowns and have them come back at a later date. But is this really in the best interest of the patient's oral health? And what is the likelihood of them coming back to complete treatment anyway? A large percentage of patients who are denied or only partially approved for funding are still very payment worthy. Payment worthiness is a term that we use very frequently around here and is a little bit different than credit worthiness because a credit score alone does not necessarily determine how payment worthy any patient is these days, and we understand that. So I'm going to show you in a moment what the criteria is that we provide you with on each one of your patients to help you determine their true payment worthiness. And just an interesting statistic that came from an article on Experian's website in December that read approximately 48% of the population has a credit score of under 700. This is very interesting because we have to understand what has and is going on in our economy. Prior to 2008, the standard for fair credit, or what the banks would consider a moderate risk consumer, was approximately 620. Today, that standard for fair credit has risen over 700 and continue to increase as time goes on, specifically in dentistry and in healthcare because these are unsecuritized loans, meaning there is no collateral backing them. So if a patient fails to pay at any time, the loss is catastrophic for the lender. Some of the reasons patients do not accept treatment. We all know patients are being turned down or only partially approved by third-party finance, but why are patients declining all financing? Is it because they don't want the treatment or don't think they need the treatment? No, they came into your practice because they need the work done and they know they want the work done, but the majority of consumers know how stringent lending standards are today, and after they hear the actual dollar amount as to what they're going to need done, they're already very aware if they're going to be approved or not, and know by if some chance they are approved, it is not going to be at terms that fit their budget. This can be very embarrassing for your patients, and they would rather decline all financing or make up an excuse and leave the practice than have to be told that they were turned down or only partially approved for care they really want and need. So to gather information about our services as a potential client, you will go through our corporate website, comprehensivefinance.com. But the patients do not need to see all the information about the logistics of our service, nor do they care. So we have also trademarked the name and are doing business as Compassionate Healthcare Services. Whenever you sign up and become a client, everything to you and your practice is done at our patient client website, compassionatehealthcareservices.com, and we will administer this entire program on your behalf, including all patient billing and collecting. The account advisors. This person acts as another team member for you that just never shows up in the practice. They have developed training videos that your team can view at any time that train them when to offer compassionate healthcare services. Also, how to present this option to patients in many scenarios they may encounter. Communication skills when discussing payment arrangements today is very critical, and any one word or phrase that you say or don't say can make or break the patient from moving forward with care. Step-by-step web system training, and they are incented to make this a success in your office. We work with clients in all 50 states, so regardless of what time zone you are in or what hours your office is open, you have someone that you will be able to reach immediately that you are used to communicating with that will be able to address any questions, concerns, or needs that you may have. Again, we have structured our programs so that we are only profitable off of our relationship with your practice if our program is a success in your office. Therefore, we want to make sure we are constantly doing everything we can to ensure successful utilization of our services. We not only try to help your team identify the right patients for our program, but we try to help them put together a simple strategy for all of your payment arrangements. Based on our experiences, we came to the realization that too many practices do not have a real strategy behind all of their payment arrangements. When asking practices what financial options they were offering to patients, the majority of practices were saying CareCredit, Chase, Springstone. Why? When asking them if a patient is turned down by one, are they getting approved by the other, everyone was saying no. This is because they are funding sources and all have the same lending standards. The most important factor separating these options from one another is their fees and gimmicks for patients. Therefore, you really only need one funding source for patients, coupling it with compassionate healthcare services. This gives you quick and easy options for just about every patient that walks into your practice, regardless of their budgetary needs. After treatment plan is done, we will advise your team to try to get cash, credit card, and insurance, or the combination of all three to get your money up front. Then if a patient has a need to finance either all or a portion of the treatment or procedure, you are going to briefly educate them on your two options. You will take your best funding source, for example, if that is CareCredit, then let the patient know that you are going to run their application through CareCredit first because they have 0% interest for well-qualified patients with no upfront fees, but they have very stringent lending standards. So if they are turned down or only partially approved, or let you know up front that they will likely not qualify, let them know it's okay because you have another great option called Compassionate Healthcare Services, where the majority of patients who are approved and they have great affordable monthly payment terms that will fit just about anyone's budget. But the reason you offer them as a secondary choice is because they do require a down payment and charge some interest. Cash is king more now than ever before, so if a patient even thinks for a moment that they will get approved for financing, they will want your best funding source first to avoid putting money down. This will help ensure your practice is sustaining normal monthly cash flow, but will also result in you successfully building on that number each and every month you use Compassionate Healthcare Services. Once you have identified a patient with the need for our services, you will have them fill out a very brief loan application, submit it through our system, and within 3 to 5 seconds, you will be able to determine their true payment worthiness. Here's a screenshot of our web system. You will notice to the right of the screen where the arrow is pointing the bank, credit, and fraud ratings. Through very extensive research, we understand that a credit score alone doesn't necessarily determine how payment worthy any of our patients are. So we have invested more of our funds into a service that a TransUnion company provides us on each patient's checking and credit history, not just a credit score. Yes, we look into the patient's credit, but we are really more concerned with how well they manage the money in their own checking account. The fraud rating looks to see if there were any inconsistencies with the information they gave you on their credit application. Above the 3 ratings, you will notice a credit status. This is our recommendation to you based upon the 3 ratings, whether we would advise you to approve the patient or, if they are high risk, contact us to discuss to ensure they are meeting the minimum criteria for an approval. Just because it comes back as high risk does not mean they are necessarily turned down. Keep in mind, you can approve everyone if you want. Yes, our system was developed to increase your case acceptance, but was also developed to help protect the doctor from patients who are way too high of a risk that you would never want to take a chance on. Once you determine the patient is payment worthy and you would like to approve them, we advise you to get a down payment to cover your hard costs, lab bill, supplies, materials. General rule of thumb seems to be approximately 20% of your fee. The down payment can be acquired through cash, credit card, insurance, partially approved patients through third-party finance, or the combination of all 4 of these options. Once you get the down payment to cover your hard costs, you simply set the payment terms of the patient. This is a screenshot of the loan calculator tab within our system. We get a lot of great feedback from our clients with regards to this feature because this allows your team to easily nail down a monthly payment with each patient before you even run their credit. You will notice at the bottom left where the arrow is pointing, the payment terms. The terms are in increments of 6 months from 6 to 60 months, and every time you click on new terms, it will automatically recalculate that patient's new monthly payment. Now that you have obtained a down payment to cover your costs and set the payment terms of the patient, you will simply print off the documentation for the patient to sign, truth in lending document, promissory note, as well as a cover letter with our information on it that they will take home. Fax or email the signed documentation off to us, schedule the patient, and we take it from here. We provide all day-to-day payment processing through an automatic debit of each patient's checking account. We give the patient any day of the month to pick from, and they can change that date at any time. This makes it easier for them as they know when they are much more likely going to have plenty of funds in their account to clear this ACH. When we debit their account, it will show up as Compassionate Healthcare Services on their checking account statement. Our fee will be extracted and moved to our corporate account. Patient's remaining payment of principal and interest will be directly deposited into your account. Deposits are made into your account on the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th of every month. If a patient ever misses a payment, we then begin our soft collections follow-up of phone calls, letters, and emails to the patient. Our process is a little different from traditional third-party finance. If a patient is a day late through traditional third-party finance, their interest rate will increase anywhere from 24.9 to 29.9%. Well, at this point, even if a patient can by some chance continue to make their monthly payment, chances are they could default because they do not want to pay interest the rest of their life. So through our collections process of phone calls, letters, and emails, we relay a positive message to the patient that we understand they may have came across hardship this month, and that their interest rate that was agreed upon that day in your practice is going to stay the same, and that there are things that we can do to help them out and get them back on the right track if they'll just respond to us. For instance, we can take the payment they missed and move it to the back end of the loan, or we can extend their payment terms out a little further so their monthly payment drops and fits their budget again. Because if they do not respond to us, we will have to turn them over to a collection agency and report them to the credit bureau. We will follow up on this process for 90 days. Once it gets to 90 days, and worst case scenario, we have to deem their account as uncollectible, we will get back to you with two options. One, you can write the loan off, or two, we can report them to the credit bureau and turn them over to a collection agency. Now I would like to take the time to walk you through a couple of loan portfolios from practices that are using our system. These are very conservative examples from a couple of general solo practitioners doing bread and butter dentistry. I chose these clients to show you the power of our program and what it can mean for you, your family, and your patients, even if you only use this program a few times a month. You will notice this practice treatment planned over $126,000 through our system. They obtained down payments of over $29,000 with an average loan size of $3,100 at 3-year terms. 16.9% interest. Nobody went to hard collections, and they financed after down payments over $97,000 with a potential net income after our fees of over $148,000. That's 31 patients for the year, only 2 to 3 patients per month. That's it. I'm sure all of you can think of at least 2 to 3 patients per month that you would have been able to help or at least do comprehensive treatment on if you would have just had this option. With 100% approval through third-party finance, this practice would have only received $114,000 of the $126,000 they treatment planned. You could assume 8.8 of the 31 patients through our program walk out the door and never pay a single penny back again. They would still receive the same amount as though they had 100% of patients approved by third-party finance. That's 1 out of every 4 patients. I guarantee this will not happen as long as you stay within the boundaries and guidelines we have put in place. Here's another example of a client of ours. This practice treatment planned over $307,000 through our system, obtained down payments of over $86,000 with an average loan size of $5,500 at 4-year terms, 14.9% interest. Nobody went to hard collections, and they financed after down payments over $221,000 with a potential net income after our fees of over $361,000. That's 40 patients for the year, only 3 to 4 patients per month. Again, even if that's all you're able to help is an extra 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 patients per month, look how significant this income can be to you and your family over time. Not to mention those extra 3 or 4 patients a month that you are able to extend the best care to that would not have been able to receive the care they really want and need without this option. With 100% approval through third-party finance, this practice would have only received $276,000 of the $307,000 they treatment planned. And you could assume 12.3 of the 40 patients through our system walk out the door, never pay a single penny back again. They would still receive the same amount as though they had 100% of patients approved by third-party finance. That's 1 out of every 4. And if these patients would have been approved, we would have told you to take the money and run. But they were not fully approved. They were either partially approved or turned down completely. Their potential net income after our fees is over $361,000. That is an $85,000 increase in profitability, not to mention a huge cushion to offset any patients who could potentially default on their obligation to pay. So for most practices, our plan for your team is to help you identify an extra 3 to 5 patients per month to fill your open time with, or that you could at least perform comprehensive care on. But even if you are a practice who never has any open chair time and you are always busy as you want to be when you are in the office and everyone gets approved by third-party finance, why wouldn't you take at least 3 to 5 patients per month that you know would get approved for financing and run them through our system due to the significant increase in profitability? As a doctor, this is the best investment you can make anywhere. You're experts at what you do and you love doing it. Since you're able to get a down payment to cover your hard cost, all you have left at risk is a few hours of your time to potentially earn full fee plus interest on something you would have not have been able to do otherwise. I cannot think of anything else that you could do to invest just time in this economy with this high of a return in a short amount of time with very little risk. I want to thank you for viewing today's presentation. I hope you found it to be very informative. If you have any questions, concerns, or would like to get started, please feel free to reach out to us anytime at 866-964-4727. We look forward to hearing from each and every one of you soon, and we look forward to serving you, your team, and your patients.